Hey friends, did you know that console logs are lying to you? So let me show you how. So in this example, I'm looking at this awesome code animation library, so you can see it works beautifully. And of course, you don't have to understand this code. So I was looking at these tokens right here inside of this flat map. It's really not important, but later in this other map, we are assigning a key to these tokens. Alright, I don't have to understand every piece of this code, but I'm interested in looking how these tokens look like before the map. So you would think, okay, let's take a snapshot of this. And then inside our developer tools, we can actually find out when we unfold this console log that they already have a key. How is that possible? And that is because in JavaScript, when we create an object or an array, we're pointing at its reference in memory. So in this example, when map mutates these tokens, and when we unfold this console log inside the developer tools, it's already going to be applied. And we can even look at it if we hover over this information icon. This value was evaluated upon first expanding. It may have changed since then. And browsers mainly do this for performance reasons, because you only want to evaluate this when you unfold it. So let's look at an example. Alright, so let's create an object. And then let's say x is 1. So now we're thinking, alright, I want to snapshot this object. And then at a later point in the code, we can update this value. So now we're thinking, alright, this is 1, we can see it obviously here, but if we unfold it, it's going to grab the value. So now x is equal to 2. And of course, this is a simple example, but you might have an array or a nested object, and then you wouldn't notice this. So this can really trip you up during debugging. Alright, so here's how we can get around this. So in this example, I have this array of items. So first we're going to log the value the same as before, but now we're going to use spread, so we can spread the items, but we have to map over them to create a new copy. Otherwise, if we just spread the items, it's going to be a shallow copy, so it's still going to reference the same thing. Another method we can use is structure clone, so we can just clone the array. And this is a built-in method to JavaScript. And of course, we can also stringify the items using JSON. So we can say JSON, stringify, and then we can parse the values. Alright, so now when we update x to 2, let's see what happens. So if we look at our log, it's going to be the same as before, it's going to evaluate to the latest value. Alright, but if you look at our spread, we're going to see that the value is going to be the same snapshot that we took when we took this console log right here. And the same is true for clone and JSON stringify. So we can see it works beautifully. Alright, but in my opinion, there's even a better method than console log. So instead of using console log, we can just go here and we can pop a cheeky debugger. Alright, so now we can use the actual debugger. And this is going to give us a bird's eye view of our application, so you can see your entire application state. So if I close this, now we can actually see our entire application state. So we can see that our tokens don't have any keys, so we're not going to get tripped up. And there you have it. Alright, peace.